Hello, hello, everyone! Happy Monday, and welcome on in to another edition of... Spoiler alert, it's bad. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2018 Tomb Raider movie. So, get your butts ready. Let's fucking do this. Hi, ADJ, welcome on in. Hi, Sheep. Hi, Stoat. Hello, WPG. How's it going, everyone? Hi, is this the Tomb Raider Help Center for Disappointed Fans? Yes. Yeah, 100%. I am as disappointed as you are. Maybe more, Sheep. Maybe more. Hi, Penny. Hello, Strix. What a surprise, y'all. WPG's been playing Pokemon. No, that's cool. I'm really glad you're enjoying it, WPG. Penny, come here. Come say hi. Nobody can see you because this screen is very tiny. Penny is doing such a good job, y'all. We got her a new automatic feeder that dumps out food 4 times a day instead of 2 times a day. And she has not froed up a single time in the last 2 days since we got it. So, progress, y'all, progress. Hi, Gaiety, welcome on in. How are you? Oh, God. There were horny ones? Wait, what? I haven't watched a single Tomb Raider movie, not even the old horny ones. I did play the first 2 remake games, though. You mean Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider? Yeah, technically, I guess you would call the Angelina Jolie ones horny. She's very well endowed. I forgot about that campaign. The funny thing is, yeah, she is in the shower in the first one, but also you get a real nice shot of Daniel Craig just out of the shower in the first one. So you can be horny either way in that first one. Didn't even know they made a newer Tomb Raider. Just remember the old one with Angelina Jolie. Yeah, they made one in 2018, ADJ. It's not good, and we're gonna talk about it. Yeah, I've said this before, but I'll say it since we're talking about Tomb Raider tonight. The Angelina Jolie ones, I think, are really fun. They're very campy in a way that matches the energy of the previous Tomb Raider games, where she's just kind of like running and flipping and flopping and shooting the guns and having infinite ammo and stuff. It's very fun. It's very silly. This one tried to be serious and failed miserably. So it just goes to show y'all. This rant has been brewing for 4 years, yes. Yeah. I'll be half listening in tonight as loud drilling happens as my windows get replaced. Well, I hope you're good. You're good. I hope your new windows are good. I hope you're good. I hope you're good. Don't forget that, yeah, the U2 soundtrack. The soundtrack for this one was Junkie XL. I like that the origin story of Lara's big boobs was a model error and everyone liked her that way, so they just left it in. That's incredible, and I love it. Soundtrack for the new Pokemon game is Ed Sheeran. Okay, I don't know if this is true, but this popped up on my Instagram today. Apparently Ed Sheeran just gives people marble penises, like giant marble penises for their birthdays. Like he gave one to Elton John. And I just think that's amazing. Oh, goodness. You know, when you're famous, you can do real weird shit. Right? Yeah, that's the perfect gift for Elton John. I'm sure he loved it. All right. Enough. Yes, Sheep, yes. Thank you for explaining the joke. Be Ed's friend, right? Get me a giant marble penis, Ed Sheeran. Noodle and I went to a crystal shop the other day, and they had little itty bitty penises made out of like amethyst and stuff. It was adorable. I should have bought one. Missed opportunity. Anyway, y'all ready to talk about Tomb Raider? Doesn't matter, we're doing it anyway, regardless of whether you're ready or not. It's coming for you. Tomb Raider's coming for you. So welcome to, spoiler alert, it's bad, Tomb Raider 2018. Yeah, let's talk about it. There's a lot of penis-shaped stuff. I mean, there's a whole industry of bachelorette parties based around that for no real reason. All right, let me get my slideshow going here. Oh shit, really? Good old nature's treasures. Okay. Are you gonna go? Come on. I'm clicking. Oh my god. Hang on, y'all. Of course, just everything goes wrong anytime I try to do anything. 2 seconds. Oh, it's because I'm on the last slide. That, you know, it probably helps to be on the first slide. Let's try this again, shall we? Boom! Ah, amazing. Nothing went wrong. Nobody noticed that. Tomb Raider. Here's the theatrical poster for it, as you can see. Very lovely. Very true to Lara's costume in the 2013 video game. So, Tomb Raider is a 2018 action-adventure film directed by, I'm going to try to say this, but I will pronounce it incorrectly, Roar Uthaug? He is a Norwegian director who has directed a few different Norwegian disaster films. Most recently, something that came out this year called Troll. I looked into it a little bit. It looks like there's like a giant sort of like rock troll that wakes up and starts kind of destroying the countryside, so people have to find a way to stop it. It seems interesting. I'm not quite sure why Roar Uthaug. Did I do it right? Did I try? I tried. Thank you, Sheep, our resident Norwegian. I appreciate you. Pretty close. Yeah! I'm just not used to making those sounds with my mouth. I would have died if they had her wear some old 1920s triangle bras. Yeah, she just comes out like that and she's like, oh, wrong bra, and just takes it off. That'd be funny. That I don't, but they could have been metal, yeah. So anyway, this guy, he seems like a good director from what I could tell. Penny, I'm really trying to concentrate here. I know, I'm not paying attention to you. And you need to be a nuisance. But let's talk about this. He seems like a good director. I'm just not quite sure why they thought that would translate into an action movie, since all he's done is disaster films. I don't understand that. Let's talk about the cast. Yeah, Penny hates the movie too. She's upset that I'm even talking about it. So, here's the cast. Lara Croft is played by Alicia Vikander, who you may know from The Danish Girl, which she won an Oscar for, and Ex Machina, in which she plays a very scary, android? AI? Something. That movie, really gave me a lot of existential dread. That's all I remember from it. Okay, bye, Katie. Good luck. So that's Lara Croft. One of the other main characters is her dad, Lord Richard Croft, played by Dominic West, most notably of The Wire and The Crown. And then we have Walton Goggins, aka the man with the largest forehead in the universe, as the antagonist Matthias Vogel. And you might know Walton Goggins from Django Unchained or Ant-Man and the Wasp, or any number of other things. He's got what I always refer to as a cowboy face. He looks really good as a cowboy. Nice, this is my fave movie. Uh-oh, hi, Cindy. Walton Goggins is great. Yeah, all of these people are great actors. They're just in garbage, a garbage movie. It happens all the time. He might have been in Walking Dead. I'm not entirely sure. That poor five-head. So those are the actors. The screenplay was written by Geneva Robertson Dwore, who wrote the 2019 Captain Marvel movie starring Brie Larson and is apparently the showrunner for the upcoming Fallout TV series. Geneva co-wrote it with Alastair Siddons. I could not find any information on them. I don't know who they are. So here's the important thing about this script. So Geneva and Alastair wrote it, but they based it on a story that somebody else wrote. So this somebody else is Evan Doherty, no information, and Robertson. Oh, okay. I didn't read this. This is fucking hilarious. Excuse me, Penny. I clicked on the wrong person. Okay. Screenplay was written by a 5-year-old. It's just not common knowledge. Well, here's the thing. Is the original story was written by someone who wrote Snow White and the Huntsman, which, meh. And they also wrote the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie with these monstrosities in them. So the person who wrote this movie, which was nominated for 5 Golden Raspberry Awards, including Worst Screenplay. Worst Screenplay. And they decided to use them to write another screenplay. Is this the one where they made the film based on the game they had released before? I seem to remember they lifted the film storyline directly from the game. Yes and no, ADJ. This Tomb Raider movie is technically based on the 2013 game, but this screenplay comes across as if they told the person who was writing the screenplay, they just gave them a bunch of sleeping pills, right? They were like, all right, you gotta write a screenplay. Here's a bunch of sleeping pills. We're gonna describe this movie to you as you are asleep. And then when you wake up, you need to write a script based on your fever dream of what we told you. Because there are maybe 5 things total that are similar from the game to the movie, but a majority of it is just like, what? Where did this come from? Why did we write it this way? Worse than the screenplay for Exorcist 2.
Hi. I remember this movie being a trip.
Hi, Gabby. Welcome on in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't talk today. Thank you so much for the 3 months. I really, really appreciate it. This movie is awful. But we're talking about Tomb Raider, which was also awful. But thank you so much. Can we get some love and hype in chat for Gabby? Yeah, don't give people drugs for writing. Anyway, so let us continue. As I was saying, the person who wrote the Tomb Raider movie wrote this abomination, which was nominated for Worst Screenplay, so I don't know why we decided to do that, but let's move on. Anyway, so let's talk about who declined the role of Lara Croft. Okay, let me show you some pictures of some actresses who decided they did not want to be Lara Croft. We've got Megan Fox. We've got Jennifer Lawrence. We've got Olivia Wilde. And we've got Mila Kunis. all lovely brunette women, but are we noticing a pattern here? We noticing something similar between all of these women? Maybe the fact that they asked 4 different American women to play a British character? Why? Just get a British actress. Which they didn't do. Because Alicia Vikander is Swedish. She's lovely, but she's definitely Swedish. I have seen your actresses, Cindy. There are plenty of wonderful British actresses who could have played this role. Why? Technically, the Americans are more British, right? I have nothing against Alicia Vikander. She is wonderful. She's a great actress. I just don't think she's Lara Croft. Maybe Hollywood was trying to get their own back because we keep stealing US acting roles. I mean, that's fine. At least British people can actually do believable American accents. American people cannot do believable British accents. I'm sorry. It's just not a thing. I've got a side idea cooking. I'm gonna slide into your DMs. Okay. You go ahead and do that, bud. All right. So that was my main complaint about casting. Just, I feel like it should have been a British actress, but whatever. Well, Womb Raider. Let's talk about box office, okay? So, this movie... This movie, money, talking about money, grossed $58.3 million in the US and Canada. It grossed $216.4 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $274.7 million. So, I think I've only heard 2 Americans do really good British accents. Which ones? Who you got? Also, hi Bumblebee, welcome on in. How much did it cost to make? So the production budget was a little over 100 million, but here's the best part. In order to break even, estimations say the film needed to gross at least 275 million worldwide. They were just short of breaking even. And despite all of that, they were like, this went fine. This was fine. This is where they report a loss to not pay tax. Yeah, that 0.3 million's a real banger. Let's talk reviews, because there are some choice reviews for this property, okay? So this is where it's sitting right now on Rotten Tomatoes. I grabbed this screen cap yesterday. Critics, 53%, audience, 55%. So everyone's pretty mid on this movie. There were some people who liked it, but we're not gonna talk about them, because that's no fun. From what I could tell reading the reviews, the people who liked it didn't know anything about the Tomb Raider franchise. So that might give you some sort of idea of who likes it. And that's honestly fairly similar to the people who liked Uncharted, were people who had no idea anything about the franchise. So I'm gonna give y'all, it sure was a movie, the movieest movie I've seen this summer. Exactly, Strix. So here's some excerpts from some reviews that I grabbed from critics. They are so beautiful. Listen to this. One wonders if the Oscar winner, Vikander, has been taking the advice of her husband, Michael Fassbender, who also has the dubious distinction of starring in his own terribly misguided video game adaptation, Assassin's Creed. Ooh, that's a harsh burn. That's a harsh burn. I was gonna say it gives Uncharted vibes, and that was a big disappointment. Exactly. When I saw Uncharted, this was what I thought of. This fucking movie. Yeah. Hey, Fassbender's great, but Assassin's Creed sucked. Vikander's great. Tomb Raider sucks. It all feels half-assed. You'll be so bored at times, you'll find yourself wondering if the rock placement in a jungle scene looks too fake. It does, by the way. This one's one of my favorites. Indiana Jones pastiche without any real sense of personality. Michael Fassbender being like, you think it's easy, you do it. Yeah, like they're having an argument about it. Oh, I would love to be a fly on the wall for that. Tomb Raider should be fun. Instead, it's 2 minutes shy of a 2-hour-long eye roll filled with shoddy effects, a Lifetime-esque story about dads, and a sprinkling of cheesy zingers. This one's great. Like a bowl of frozen soup. Takes much too long to heat up. It's so true. I wish I had the presence of mind to write the things that these people write. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Speaking of Indiana Jones, someone I won't name sent me a message saying, and I quote, I hope Indiana Jones dies in the next movie. Oh no! Didn't the first one have a whole dad subplot? The first movie, the one with Angelina Jolie? Yes, 100%. She misses her dad, which is understandable. And spoiler alert, I'm just gonna do a blanket spoiler alert right now. Spoiler alert for this Tomb Raider movie, the previous 2 Tomb Raider movies, and the 2013 Tomb Raider game, as well as its sequels. Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Just a blanket spoiler alert for all 6 of those properties. I will be talking about all of them interchangeably. So, yes, ADJ, there's a dad subplot. The whole thing is about time travel. Weirdly enough, the Illuminati exists, and she ends up getting to go back in time and talk to her dad, and she wants to change the past to make it so that he's alive, but he convinces her not to. And I will be honest, that works so much better than the dad subplot in this movie, because it's Angelina Jolie's actual dad. So she has actual on-screen, like, I'm gonna say chemistry, but we all know I mean familial chemistry and not romantic chemistry, because that's gross. She has actual on-screen chemistry with her dad. The emotional moments feel emotional. The ones in this movie do not, and we will get to that. Theater popcorn was good. Wish I got a Dr. Pepper, though, instead of a Coke. I mean, why are they making another Indiana Jones movie? It doesn't need to be made. Okay, so those are our review excerpts. I just thought those were funny. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Let's talk about the synopsis, okay? I shortened it down as much as I could. There's not a whole lot going on in this movie. So let's talk about it. We start 7 years after the disappearance of her father. Lara Croft is a broke bike courier who refuses to accept her inheritance because she has serious daddy issues. I mean, because that would mean officially admitting that her father is dead. Eventually, her father's business partner, Anna, convinces her to accept the inheritance or Croft Manor will be sold off. But before she can finish signing the paperwork, she gets distracted by a little puzzle box and pieces out. Just fucking leaves in the middle of the meeting. She solves the puzzle box and finds a secret chamber in her father's tomb. Totally normal stuff. Along with a message from him telling her to destroy all of his research on Himiko, the magical queen of Yamatai. Can you tell what I think it would be about? About a lady that needs to get a thing, to do the thing, to get the thing, to open the thing, and then go to the thing in the end. Wow, that's real good, Cindy. That sounds legit. So, Lara promptly ignores her father's message, does not destroy anything that he's asked her to destroy, and in fact does the exact opposite, pawning off a necklace he gave her and following in his footsteps to Yamatai, because it's a super smart idea to go to the place that probably killed your dad. Anyway, she convinces a drunk man with a boat, Lu Ren, to take her because he needs money, and also because his dad also died on this ridiculous suicide mission. So, they crash the boat, of course, and wake up on Yamatai with Matthias, aka the weirdest antagonist ever, but we'll get into that later. He and his men are a little stir-crazy and really want to find Himiko's tomb, which honestly, they should have found by now because they've been on Yamatai for 7 years, and it's not that big of an island. Anyway, now that Lara brought her dad's research right to them, like a dingus, they know exactly where the tomb is, so Matthias imprisons them, but Lara escapes, uses a parachute incorrectly. Also, let's take note of this terrible fucking CG. Look at that, that's awful. That's real bad. That's not how you use a parachute. She is just holding on to it. It's not strapped on at all. This is dangerous. Anyway, Lara escapes, uses a parachute incorrectly, kills a man and has barely any feelings about it, and then finds her father who, guess what, is conveniently still alive and a little bonkers. Look at that. Cause he doesn't shave. Cause he's on an island. So, her dad gets pissed at her for not only not destroying his research, but also letting it fall into the hands of the exact people he was trying to keep it from, which is totally valid. Lara doesn't give two shits and just wants to escape the island, but her dad insists they stay and clean up her mess. Again, totally valid. So Lara rescues Lu Ren and a bunch of other prisoners, but Matthias takes her dad hostage because he decided to fuck around and find out. Seriously, this man full on just stands around and stares at this giant puzzle door like an idiot for like a full minute while everybody else is running around trying to escape. And then Matthias just comes up behind him with a gun. Why? Why? Anyway. In true Indiana Jones style, Lara and her dad are forced to go into the tomb with the bad guys and navigate a series of ridiculously stupid booby traps. They find Himiko's weirdly well-preserved body, and it turns out, guess what? There's nothing magical about her at all. She was just an asymptomatic carrier of a gnarly infectious virus that turns people into aggressive zombies. So, Matthias puts one of her fingers in a little plastic baggie like a weirdo and pieces out while Lara and her dad fight as infected soldiers. Lara's dad also gets infected and then decides to destroy the tomb / self-sacrifice because it's almost the end of an action movie and no one's self-sacrificed yet. So Lara yeets Matthias off a ledge on her way out of the tomb, regroups with Lu Ren, and shoves way too many people into one small commandeered helicopter. Lara returns to London, where she actually signs the goddamn papers this time and accepts her inheritance. Conveniently, she discovers that her dad's company owns the organization Matthias was working for, Trinity, and that her dad's business partner, Anna, is probably definitely super shady. This looks shady, right? Look at that picture of her walking away from the camera. So, this is obviously a setup for a sequel, but what's that? Oh, that's interesting. A script was written for the sequel, Tomb Raider: Obsidian, in 2019. Here's what I think the poster would look like. Filming was supposed to start in 2020, but was delayed due to the pandemic, obviously. And in July of this year, MGM lost the film rights to the Tomb Raider franchise after the window ran out to give the sequel the green light, culminating in Alicia Vikander's departure from the lead role. The rights then reverted to the original game companies, Eidos and Crystal Dynamics, which will soon be acquired by the Embracer Group at the end of 2022. Oh well, maybe they'll do another reboot in 15 years. This film sounds amazing. I'm going to watch it tonight. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed it's been spoiled for me now. I'd have watched it if I knew it would be this good. I'd give Nolan the rights. He'd make a good Tomb Raider. I'm genuinely convinced nobody can make a good Tomb Raider. Like, this is it's just sad. It's sad. So anyway, there you go. Now, does anybody have any questions before we get into the game? I'm gonna give a very short synopsis of the game that this movie is based on, and you'll understand a little bit as to what's different, and then we'll get into the actual critiques I have of the movie. Angelina was perfect, you're right. I don't get why it's so hard for people to make a good video game adaptation. Okay, so ADJ, I've talked about this before. The issue with video game adaptations is that they try to adapt the same story that was told in the video game. And the problem with that is the video game told that story way better than a movie ever could. Because in the video game, you are in control of the character, and you are finding lore yourself through exploring things. Like, there's no way they could have told this story in a movie that would have made sense. They should have done what the Angelina Jolie movies did, which is take the character and put her in a completely new situation. If they had just thrown out the entirety of the script from the game, they could have made an interesting movie, because some of the action set pieces are really cool, and they had, I don't know. It's like Uncharted 4 feels like a movie, but that would be a 12-hour movie. Exactly! Uncharted 4 is fucking incredible. It's so good, and it makes me cry every single time I play it, because it's that good. It gets you involved in the story and the characters, but you're not gonna make that into a movie. I didn't spoil anything. It just makes me cry. I promise I would never do that to you. But you're gonna cry. I've not started it. You should. I was disappointed with the Uncharted movie. Yeah, Gabby, the Uncharted movie was sad. Very sad. What Fast and Furious movie is this again? Where are the cars? I don't cry at games ever. Oh, okay, then maybe you won't cry, but it's a good story. I'll just say that. But yeah, I honestly think that if you're going to make a video game movie, you need to, yeah, you have to appeal to non-gamers in 2 hours, while the average video game is 15 hours. Yeah, you need to just pick a different story, something you can tell in 2 hours that's going to make sense, instead of trying to pick and choose shit from the game that's never gonna work for you. It's like the Resident Evil movie that came out last year. They tried to shove the first 2 Resident Evil games into one movie, which is, first of all, way too much content, and all they did was fucking fan service. So none of it actually made any sense. It was just fan service moment to fan service moment. Sarcasm doesn't work here. I bawl my eyes out easily. Okay, good. You'll have to let me know if you cry after you finish Uncharted 4. So, let's talk about the game that this movie is based on, air quotes, which is the 2013 Tomb Raider game. They sort of were rebooting the franchise. If you haven't played this game, it's fucking amazing. It's so good. I highly recommend it. It's an enclosed story in and of itself, and it's really, really great. So this came out in 2013. It was a reboot of the series, and it's basically, so Lara is a recent archaeology college graduate, and she sets out on her first ever expedition to find the lost kingdom of Yamatai. She is accompanied by this very low-res picture of everybody in the game. I couldn't find another picture where they were all together, and I wanted them all on one screen. So she's accompanied by Sam Nishimura, right here, this one, who is Lara's best friend and a descendant of Himiko, Queen of Yamatai. Her parents are funding the expedition. They're also accompanied by Dr. James Whitman, this idiot over here on the end. He is a very narcissistic celebrity archaeologist. We have Conrad Roth right here, who is an adventurer and also Lara's mentor, taught her everything she knows. We have Jocelyn Reyes, who's a temperamental mechanic, very quick to anger. We have Jonah, I think, Mayava over here. And he's a fisherman. He's really cool. We have Angus Grimaldi right here, who is the helmsman of the boat that they're on. It's not Santa, it's Grim. He's Scottish, and he's fucking amazing. And then we have Alex Weiss over here on the end, who's a goofy electronics specialist. We also have Lara. Yes, Cindy, definitely finished the other two. Rise of the Tomb Raider is really, really good. They took everything that was great from this game and added more stuff and just made it even better. So, these are all of the people You'll notice that I didn't mention any of these people when I did the synopsis for the movie. And that's because none of these people exist in the movie except Lara. They just yeeted out all the characters. They're gone. So that storyline is just, which by the way is the majority of the storyline for this game. Okay? Because the game starts, and I mean starts, with the ship crashing and stranding the entire expedition on Yamatai. Sam is kidnapped by a man named Matthias. Does this look anything like Walton Goggins? No, it does not. This is a man who leads a modern-day cult on the island composed of survivors from various wrecks over the last, 20 years. 20 years this man has been stranded on Yamatai. He's a little bonkers. So he's dedicated to bringing Himiko back, and he believes Sam is the key to that because she is a direct descendant of Himiko. So, Lara spends a majority of this game, fighting for her life against these cultists in an attempt to rescue Sam and all of the other expedition survivors. Eventually, she realizes that they are unable to leave the island because of freak storms that are being controlled by the soul of Himiko, which is still alive but trapped in a decaying body because of a ritual gone wrong. So Matthias uses Sam as a new vessel for Himiko to complete the ritual, but Lara intervenes and kills both Matthias and Himiko. The weather clears, and she and her remaining crewmates leave the island forever changed. Hello, Halkengard. Not quite lost. They are stranded on an island, but there's no smoke monster. Just an angry ancient Japanese queen. Oh, Penny did a little hop. Little hop jump. Good girl. So, that is the game synopsis. I have to go back. Don't mention the L word. Oh no, Cindy. So, let's talk about some of the differences between the movie and the video game. Still need to watch Lost. Apparently, it's disappointing, but I don't know. I never watched it. You can make your own conclusions. A lot of setup, no payoff. That's what I've heard. But I've never watched it, so I don't have an opinion on it. All right, so first things first, let's talk about what this movie did to the character of Lara Croft. Now, before I get into this, I think you could probably figure this out, but I'll just let you know. I am a massive, massive fan of Tomb Raider and of Lara Croft specifically. It's definitely one of the things that got me into video games in the first place, was having a strong female lead to play as and feel like a badass. Sounds like my love life. Nice. So I'm really, really passionate about this. So if I get emotional, you know why. I watched The Watcher. Do you mean The Witcher? Did it autocorrect you? That was definitely how I felt about that. So much setup, no payoff. Or is there something called The Watcher on Netflix? I don't actually know. So, all right, let's talk about Lara Croft. The Witcher Watcher. Right off the bat, the movie fully invalidates Lara's intelligence. In the game, she's an archaeology graduate who uses her knowledge and skills to find solutions in the impossible situations she's forced into on the island. In the movie, she didn't go to college, which is fine, but they make a point of mentioning it like it's a big deal. And she continually makes dumb choices that just happen to work out for her in the end, which I don't feel like is a good message, but that's just me, maybe? No, it is The Watcher? Okay. I have not heard about that. Wishwasher, a show about cleaning? It could be. So on that note, the movie fails to showcase one of the biggest through lines of the game, which is that Lara is inexperienced and having to use the skills she has, the only skills she has, to fend for herself on the island. In the game, Lara's skills are things like archaeology, mountain climbing, and like a little bit of survival stuff that Conrad Roth taught her. And as the game progresses, you get to see her use these skills and develop new skills just so she can survive this hellhole she's stuck on. In the movie, they shove in a boxing scene, which she very pointedly loses. That's what's happening here. She's getting choked out and she almost passes out. And then they shove in one single flashback of her shooting arrows. And both of these skills are used exactly once in the movie. The rest of it is just her bumbling around and falling off of things. So, like, she has skills, but she's not really using them, and it doesn't make sense how she got them. It's just like, it feels like they had her dad, who's in the background here, force her to do archery just so she could use it later in the movie. Being choked out as a skill, apparently. So one of the scenes from the game that always sticks with me is Lara's first kill. It's her first encounter with the cultists on the island, and she literally just witnessed them kill some of the crew members from the boat she was on. Like, she has just gotten to this island, has already had to fend for herself, and now she's watching people she knows getting killed. One of them grabs her as she's trying to escape and attempts to strangle her. They grapple for his pistol, and she ends up shooting him point blank in the face in the struggle. It is a very visceral moment, and the camera is left lingering on Lara, who is shaking and crying and dry heaving because she feels awful about what she's just done. It is a very relatable moment because I feel like most of us put in that situation, having just had to kill someone in self-defense, would be very upset. This is her just like not having a good time on this island. And she ends up having to kill a couple more cultists in self-defense as she makes her way back to her friends. And when she tells her mentor what's happened, he says, "That can't have been easy." And she responds with, "It's scary just how easy it was." So you really get a sense of the feelings that Lara's grappling with as she tries to survive on an island full of people who all want her dead. All of them. I kill people for the first time several times a week. Exactly. The game is full of empathy. It's full of you feeling for Lara as she goes through this situation because, to an extent, she's just like you. She doesn't have a lot of skills, but she's having to fend for herself with the skills that she does have. So, they tried to recreate this scene in the movie, kind of. Essentially, Lara escapes from Matthias after she uses that parachute incorrectly in that terrible CGI scene. She ends up having to like half box, half wrestle with one of Matthias's soldiers in the jungle, and she ends up choking him out, which I guess is supposed to be like a coming full circle from she was being choked out at the beginning of the movie and now she's choking someone else out, but like, it comes across like she was really bad at boxing, and now that she's in a situation where she's up against someone twice her size, she's really good at boxing. Like, that's not how that works. And in addition to that, after she kills him, she just stares at him for like 20 seconds. And I'm aware that this is dark. I've lightened it for you a little bit. This is what it looks like. It's darker than this in the movie. The first slide I showed is how dark it was in the movie, so you can barely tell what's going on. And this is Alicia Vikander doing her best to have some sort of emotion on her face, staring at the man she's just killed. Here's the problem, is she stares at him for 20 seconds, eyes full of emotion, and then immediately gets distracted by a figure in the forest that ends up being her dad, which she then chases after, and ultimately she never processes what she's just done. She does not have a single moment in the rest of this movie where she's like, hey, I just killed someone. That's bad, right? In fact, less than 15 minutes later, she is running around a camp. I mean, technically it's not 15 minutes for her, it's the next day. But still, movie time, less than 15 minutes later, she's running around the camp, just taking guys out, shooting every single one of them directly in the heart like she's been doing it her whole life. No remorse, nothing, never has any emotions about it. And it is very jarring and weird, like a weird sort of whiplash. Any ball shots? No ball shots, sorry. Yeah. Laura's been desensitized by the early 2000s internet. Yes, no regrets, no regrets. It's just, I think it's really disappointing how the very clear feelings of guilt and like shame that Lara struggles with in the game never get touched on in this movie, but they're clearly trying to recreate shit from the game. I don't think you should do this kind of stuff if you're not gonna go all in. If you're not gonna touch on all of the trauma that Lara deals with in the game, why have this scene? It doesn't make sense. Like, if you're gonna go full action movie later, just go full fucking action movie. Just do it. So, yes, horrible movie, 1 out of 10, no ball shots. On the subject of Lara's trauma, in the game, she goes through a lot of both physical and mental trauma. And near the end of the game, she even says, "This island has taken everything from me." She literally comes out of this experience a changed woman, and that character development is seen in the subsequent games, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. After the island, she is more experienced, she is hardened. She's not letting her emotions weigh her down anymore because she's just like, that's too much. That's a lot of trauma. And she's fiercely determined to figure out what the fuck is going on in the world because she's just experienced some weird supernatural shit. The only character development that this Lara experiences in this movie is that she is finally ready to accept her father's death. And honestly, it only feels like she's ready to do that because she actually witnessed it in person this time. Like the whole movie existed to prove to her, oh no, your dad is still alive. You were right, and now he's dead, so move on with your life. There's more emotion in John Wick where the main character only says a grand total of 511 words. Is that for real? That's how many words he says? That is impressive. Yeah, I would say I would agree with that. More emotion when the dog dies than when this woman kills a man. I hate when my parents flip-flop on if they're alive or not. Exactly, right? Just, you know, pick one or the other. I can't take it anymore. Oh, God. That is so much paperwork. It's like Jenny LeClue all over again. Yes! Hi, Nellie. Welcome on in. How are you? It's easier to be more emotional when your character doesn't speak as much. That's fair, yes. I do believe that Alicia Vikander has the capacity to be emotional. I just don't think she was given a good script in this movie. Haha, it was just a test to see if you would take over Croft Manor after I died. You failed! Technically, she didn't, though. She refused to sign, well, she didn't refuse to sign the paperwork. She got distracted, goldfish style, by a puzzle and never signed the paperwork until she realized he was actually dead. Ryan Gosling in Drive has about 50 words. I have never seen that movie. Oh, God. Okay, so... yeah, ADHD Lara, for sure. Drive is awesome? Okay. Doing work and loving this recap. I'm glad I can entertain you. That's what I'm here for. There are 2,781 words in John Wick, of which Keanu Reeves has 511. 18% of the speaking words. Amazing! Thank you for that information. I very much appreciate it. I'm great, Noli. I'm wonderful. Now that I'm not watching this movie currently. I had to rewatch this last week, and it was so much worse than I remembered it being when I saw it in theaters. And I almost walked out in theaters. I kept staying because I was like, you know what? It might get better. Spoiler, it never did. There's a fourth one coming out, WPG, next year, I think. So, when a movie is so bad, you make a presentation to explain why it's bad. That's how I live my life. Let me show you why you should also hate this. That's how I have friendships with people. Come hate this thing with me. So another thing that bothered me about the characterization of Lara Croft in the movie is that the movie takes all of the things that make Lara interesting in the game, and they're scrapped to make room for the overarching daddy issues storyline. Basically, Lara's entire motivation in this movie is to find her dad. That's it. Literally nothing else matters to her. So, Lara's degree in archaeology in the game? Nope. She didn't even know her dad was a secret archaeologist, which, side note, what the fuck is a secret archaeologist? What kind of person has a secret archaeology room in their tomb? My dad. Exactly. Like, I guess Indiana Jones is a secret archaeologist. But at least he has a cool job to start with. A job that makes sense. Like, he's a history teacher. That makes sense. I'm gonna be a secret archaeologist. Lara's dad is just a businessman. It belongs in a museum. So, Lara's jade necklace, it's a very big, part of her character in the game. And she mentions in the game that she found it on her first archaeology dig when she was 5 years old. It's an adorable story. But in this movie, guess what? Lara's dad gave her the jade necklace. And she pawns it off pretty early in the movie. Lara's skills, exploring the island, learning about Himiko, using archaeology. No. Every single bit of exposition on Himiko in this movie comes from her dad's tape recorder and his secret archaeology stash. Lara's motivation in the game to save her friends? Nope. Single-minded determination to find her dad. Her friends literally don't exist in this movie. And the fucking kicker, okay? Lara is bleeding out in the game and has to cauterize her own wound with a lighter and a metal arrow tip in a scene that still makes me wince every time. Visceral. Nope. Daddy happens to have a first aid kit and he just patches her up real quick. That's it. I stole this necklace from an archaeology site, right? Yeah, badass, not badass. I hope she gets some antibiotics for that. I hope so too. So it's just that's planning ahead. How long was he on the island? He was there for 7 years. And he just had a first aid kit for no reason. It's never explained why he has a first aid kit. And what's even weirder is right after this scene, the next morning, she helps him shave. They don't cut his hair. They just shave his beard with scissors. I feel like it's supposed to be a touching moment where Lara's helping him, but it's just weird. It's just a weird scene to use ex-daddy issues. And speaking of dad, what the fuck is going on with this character? Why is he a generic businessman? It doesn't make any sense. Generic businessman and secret moonlighting archaeologist. He's building an Iron Man suit. It's such a weird character, and more importantly, since literally this entire movie is based around Lara's unwillingness to let this man go, I don't understand why we are never really given any insight as to why she's so close with him. Like, her mom died a long time ago, and from the, 2 or 3 flashbacks we get of her childhood, it just seems like her dad was always leaving on secret archaeology missions and making her do archery while he was gone. He was never there. I understand that she loves him because he's her dad, but the thing about centering your entire movie around a father-daughter relationship is that you have to actually make the audience understand the bond between those characters, or there's no emotional weight to any of the things that happen. The scene where he decides to sacrifice himself to protect the world from Himiko's virus is supposed to be heartbreaking because Lara just got her dad back. But it just feels hollow and weird because he's like, go, leave me. And she's like, okay. And then turns around and leaves. They don't give you any of the upfront character development that makes you care about these people. So everything else that happens in the movie is just I don't know. These are they're just pushing action figures up against each other. Throwing them around in weird situations. Hi, Kina, welcome on in. I mean, to be fair, England did have a pretty intense history of archaeology for money. Hey, colonization, baby! But if he was a businessman running a chain of restaurants and moonlighted as an archaeologist, then yeah, it's kind of weird. We don't even know what he's running. He's just a generic businessman. Lara gets a book at the end of the movie after she signs, takes her inheritance. She gets a book of, all of Croft Company's holdings, and you don't really see anything in there. It's just used as a setup for the sequel that never happened. So we don't know what kind of business he did. Shady shit, I guess? Strix. Yeah, so I just, I think that the daddy issues storyline, if they were gonna go in that direction, could have been handled a lot better if they'd actually made us care about these people, but they didn't. So, who directed it? This movie? A Norwegian director who directed several Norwegian disaster movies. But I fully and completely blame the lack of character development in this movie on the person who wrote it, who also wrote the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Because that movie was terrible. Selling relics to England. So the last of the main protagonists is Lou Ren, this guy who owns the boat. You'll notice I didn't mention him very much in the synopsis because it doesn't really make sense why he's there. He's not a character who exists in the game. They literally just put him in this movie because he had a boat. And that's it. His motivation is inconsistent. First, he just takes Lara's money, but then I guess he, grows to like her? I don't really know. It's not clear. He gets shot helping Lara escape the first time, and then he and the other prisoners all decide to stay behind to make sure Lara makes it out of the tomb, but it's not clear why any of them feel obligated to help her. These two have only known each other for maybe a few days max, and judging by the montage, most of that time was spent silently occupying the same boat together. It doesn't make sense. You gotta have a boat, man. Just steal a boat. It's a good point. Just steal a boat. It's an excuse to have an oiled up man in a tank top on screen. I mean, he's easy on the eyes. I will fully admit that. But like, it's just weird. And also, one of the pieces of fan service they threw in the movie is that his boat is named the Endurance, which is the name of the boat in the game. But he's from Hong Kong? Why would he name his boat in English? Hi, hello, welcome on in. Like, the boat is owned by a Scottish man in the game, which makes sense why he called it the Endurance. He bought it from an English boat company. I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's just weird. Nothing makes sense in this fucking movie. Hella, how are you, bud? How's life? I know you got it rough right now. Boatman has endurance. Wink, wink. Okay, speaking of wink, wink, I'm very, very glad that this movie didn't throw in a romance subplot, because that is fully and entirely unnecessary, even though they did a lot of unnecessary things in this movie. But there are two moments where it feels like they're maybe ramping up to something. One of those moments is like right at the beginning of the movie when Lara's doing her like bike courier thing. And she goes and grabs a bunch of food from a restaurant, and one of the young men who works in the restaurant, his mom is behind him cooking, and she's like, "You should ask her out." And he doesn't ask her out, and then his mom like hits him on the head as Lara walks out. So like, okay, I guess it could be a funny scene, maybe, but it's just weird and out of place. And then these two, one of the only conversations they actually have on this boat after they've set out for Yamatai is something about dangerous women. I think she's talking to him about Himiko. Lara's not a boat, no. She's talking to him about Himiko, and he says something like, "Some men like dangerous women," and she's like, "Some men are foolish," and then walks away. And I don't know if that was supposed to be like, oh, he likes her and she's dangerous. It's never touched on again. Lara McBoatface. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do. I'm glad they didn't put a romance subplot in, but they shouldn't even have hinted at it because it's unnecessary. So we've touched on the protagonists. I'd like to talk about the antagonists. Lara Croft, more like. Here you go. Just for you. So, in the game, there are multiple antagonists. There's Matthias, there's all of his cultists, and there's the Oni that guard Himiko's tomb. All of those people want Lara dead. There's Himiko, who is controlling the weather around the island and trapping people there. And then there's the island itself, which is full of all sorts of dangerous terrain that Lara keeps almost dying on. So, the cool thing about having multiple antagonists all working against Lara in the game really drives home the feeling of being trapped and helpless on the island. Like, everything is working against you. I don't know, it just really makes it more emotionally resonant. But in the movie, there's one antagonist, Matthias. I'm just gonna bring up this still again because I think it's hilarious. And the movie version of him, which is nothing at all like the game version of him, is just a really weird guy. He's really weird. The Matthias in the game is a little messed up in the head because he's been on this island for 20 years and he just wants to get the fuck off the island, and he knows the only way to do that is to complete this ritual with Himiko. Kina. The Matthias in the movie has only been on the island for 7 years and is trying desperately to make the, like, Walton Goggins is a good actor. I've seen him do good stuff, and he's trying his best to make this character come across as evil, but the dialogue he's been given is legitimately bonkers. His first conversation with Lara goes like this. I'm gonna read you this word for word, okay? Hi, Sam, welcome on in. He says, "What are you doing here, Lara?" He does not wait for an answer. Instead, he immediately continues with, "I have 2 daughters. Dark hair like you. Pretty like you." Excuse the fuck out of me, dude? What? Like, what is your point here? And later on, he references that he's, like, really wants to get off this island and back to his family, so it feels like that only exists to tell you that he has 2 daughters, but he does it in the creepiest way possible. It was rhetorical, it's monologue time. It's very weird, and Lara does not talk to him for a while because he's being so creepy. Moments later, he gives her a can of peaches, and as she's desperately eating out of this can because she's famished, he goes, "I used to imagine that I might find an ear inside of one of those cans eventually. Isn't that mad?" Yeah, dude! This is really fucking weird! What? An ear? Like, they're trying to get the point across that he's losing his mind on this island, but it's not good dialogue, and it's coming across it's just weird. It's not evil, it's weird. And finally, this is all the first conversation they've ever had, by the way. Finally, at the end of this conversation, when she asks him what he knows about her father because he mentions Richard, he just starts creepily touching her face for no reason at all before telling her that he killed her dad. He killed him. And you can see how creeped out she looks in this picture. She's like, "Get the fuck away from me." I dropped the ear in the peaches. There's a good way to be like an evil bad guy, and this is not it. I don't get that reference, but it's great, Sim. How to talk to women. Yeah, Oh, it's Keenan and Cal, nice. Gonna go down to Georgia, get some ears in the peaches. It's just so weird, and he's just weird throughout the entire movie. Like, there's a scene later where it's supposed to show him being ruthless. One of the prisoners he's got gets really sick and can't work anymore, so he just pops the guy in the face. And instead of, like, walking away and letting that stand as, like, oh shit, this guy will just straight up kill people, he instead silently turns and points the gun at Lara in a weird scene that lasts like 30 seconds too long, where he's just staring at her. And then he walks away. No words said. Should've just walked away the first time. But when they were suing a tuna company because they found a screw in a tuna can, but Cal dropped it in there and had a breakdown in court. Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's just fucking weird. And oh god. Although she's hold on. Okay. So though she's not technically an antagonist in this movie, I do want to talk about Himiko. This is still from the game because there's a bunch of like Himiko murals and stuff all over the island. She's a really, really interesting character in the game, but her story just kind of feels tacked on in the movie is weird. Like, in the game, what you get from the lore that you find all over the island is that Himiko sounds like a really good person at first, but it actually turns out that she's evil. She's an ancient Japanese queen who rules over the island of Yamatai with her supernatural powers, and her people love her for taking care of them, but they also fear her because they know what she's capable of. She doesn't transfer her power when she gets old. She literally transfers her entire soul to another body to basically gain immortality. And the people who she's doing that with don't get a choice. So during the last ritual that happened, her successor, who didn't want anyone else to have to go through this ritual, committed suicide, thus trapping Himiko's soul in a decaying body and causing her anger to create the storms around the island that trap everybody there. It's a really interesting narrative, and you get none of that in the movie. This movie feels kind of tacked on. Okay, you get one soul transfer to another body for a week. Who do you pick? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. So, in the movie, Himiko is almost the exact opposite. She sounds evil at first from all of the lore, and I say lore very loosely here, that you get, but it actually turns out that she's good. In the movie, she's described as, quote unquote, spreading death and destruction by the mere touch of her hand. And because of that, she was imprisoned on Yamatai, so she couldn't hurt anyone anymore. By the way, this exact same information is repeated twice in the movie. Once at the very beginning, to like open the movie, is a voiceover of Lara's dad talking about this, talking about Himiko being the Queen of Death and being imprisoned on Yamatai. And then later, like maybe 20 minutes later, Lara's in his secret archaeology bunker. She finds one of his tape recorders and turns it on. And then it's the exact same voiceover. If you're gonna have that voiceover later in the movie, don't put it at the beginning of the movie. I don't need to hear this information twice. I'm not an idiot. What is this? Sounds like a shitty cult leader. If you play your cult cards right, then you should have your cultists wanting to give up their body to you. That's fair, yeah. Lore's so nice, you need to hear it twice. Exactly. Fucking ridiculous. So ultimately, the movie makes Himiko into a martyr for no reason at all. Basically, that she was the carrier of a virus and she sealed herself away on the island to protect everyone. And all of the supernatural stuff that you hear from the lore ends up just being a myth, which goes against pretty much every Tomb Raider game ever. If you have played a Tomb Raider game, you know that all the weird mythical stuff that you hear at the beginning of the game ends up being actual supernatural shit later. That is a crux of the Tomb Raider series. And in this one, they were just like, nah, let's Scooby-Doo this shit. Pull off the mask, surprise, it wasn't magic after all. Fucking dumb, and it's so anticlimactic. Their soul goes into a nice turtle on a beach to chill for the week. Oh my god, adorable. I have a lot of feelings. Okay, but which is worse, this or Uncharted? Honestly, it's maybe this one. But, like, barely. They're very close in terms of badness. The live-action Scooby-Doo movie was more Lara Croft than Lara Croft. The live-action Scooby-Doo movie slaps! That shit was awesome! Can I be the soul turtle instead? Perfect. I would love to just chill on a beach for a week as a turtle. That'd be great. So, speaking of Himiko... I do not remember that, Sim. Remember that the live-action Scooby-Doo movie was directed by James Gunn? You're welcome. It was also supposed to be R-rated, but they changed it. Anyway, speaking of Himiko, let's talk about the puzzles in and around her tomb, because they tried to make this into an Indiana Jones movie. So one of the best parts about Tomb Raider games, in addition to just like having fun and adventuring, is the puzzles, in my opinion. And that's something that I feel the Angelina Jolie movies did fairly well. Here is a still from Tomb Raider, Lara Croft : Tomb Raider, the first Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movie. Do you see this fucking ridiculous monstrosity? This whole fucking thing is a puzzle, and it's great. It's weird and fun and interesting, and it really just... Lara Croft : Raider. Yes, exactly. So the puzzle solutions in this movie were a little simplistic, but they brought you in on what was happening. They had Angelina Jolie's Lara Croft explain the puzzles to the other people in the movie so that you felt involved in what was going on as a viewer. That's an octopus theme park, right? It kind of looks like that. Hi, Alan. How are you? Welcome on in. So that's why part of why I like the Angelina Jolie movies is because they have these really interesting puzzles and they explain to you what's going on. So this movie, the 2018 Tomb Raider movie, does not do that. And I find it really frustrating. To open Himiko's tomb, Lara has to turn a bunch of large stone wheels that function like a combination lock. This massive fucking door here, and this is her kind of climbing around on it, turning these wheels. Do you see how far away we are from this door? You never get a clear shot of what she's doing with these wheels, and the only explanation you get as to what she's doing is like 5 seconds in a montage earlier in the movie where she's fucking with something her dad left behind. And that's it. You never are pulled into how she solves this puzzle. She just turns every single one of these wheels once, and it unlocks the door, and that's it. I was just like, what is the point of showing me this if you're not gonna tell me how it's done? Sorry, I cannot interact too much, busy but lurking. That's okay, Alan. I just appreciate you being here, bud. I hope you're having a good night. So, I was upset about this. They do it earlier in the movie too, when she gets distracted by the puzzle as she's trying to sign the fucking papers to get her inheritance. It's like a Japanese puzzle box, and she sits there, turns it 4 or 5 times, and it pops open. Again, no explanation on it other than she was like, we used to have a bunch of these around the house as a kid. Okay, and how do you solve them? Camera distance is a wonderful way to pull someone out of your narrative, right? Yes, there's times when that can be effective, but not when they want to see what the fuck is going on. Like, you get some ridiculous close-ups of these wheels, but you can't see anything on them or what's going on. It's so fucking stupid. Thank you, Cindy. Deus Ex big fucking door. So the only puzzle in the movie that is actually explained is terrible. So basically, they're inside Himiko's tomb, and they trigger a trap that causes the floor to start falling out from underneath them, and Lara notices a big keyhole in the door. And then eventually, she finds a couple of these, like, glass pieces that, but they don't fit in the door. And she literally, right after this scene right here, where she's looking at these 2 glass pieces, she goes, "It's a color puzzle." No shit, Lara! Like, what the fuck? And none of these fit in the door. So she has to try to figure out what the colors she needs. She ends up needing yellow and blue to make green, the color of life. But also, if you watch her, the yellow and green ones are the only ones that actually fit in the door. The rest of them don't. So you don't even need to solve it as a color puzzle. Just shove the right keys in there. It's not that hard. What you have just described is exactly the moment Caleb and I have with every puzzle game ever. Yeah, but that's because he's colorblind. Round peg goes in the round hole. Exactly. It's so dumb. Ridiculous. So, since we are talking about disappointing things, let's move on to the quote-unquote comedy in this movie. Blue and yellow make green sounds like a kindergarten puzzle. Exactly. So here's the thing. Here's a still of Hannah John Kamen laughing at something that Lara said. I will refer to this still later. Please note how very happy she is to have received comedy. Also, this is the only time we ever see Hannah John Kamen. We never see her again. It's so dumb. Okay, so here's the thing. This movie does not need to be funny. That's not the story it's supposed to be telling. It's not a funny story. It's a heartbreaking story about a woman and her dad. And yet, for some reason, they decided to add in random weird comedy moments that do not fit with the tone of the rest of the movie at all. The first one, this scene here, occurs right after Lara gets her ass handed to her in the boxing ring. Her friend, Hannah John Kamen, says that Lara's opponent marmalized her. Now, I legitimately thought this word was made up, and I was very confused until I Googled it. Has anyone ever heard the word marmalize before? Doesn't it sound like something you would do to, like, I don't know, food? Like with marmalade? You've heard of it, WPG? I'm impressed. You are very smart. I've never heard the word marmalize before. Do you want to know what it means? It means to thrash or to defeat decisively. So, exactly, Noli, exactly. In the context of the scene, it makes sense. She's saying that Lara's opponent thrashed her or defeated her. But I feel like your goal as a scriptwriter shouldn't be to confuse your audience with words they've never heard of. Like, you could have just said she thrashed you. That would have been fine. Or maybe she kicked your ass, 'cause she did. Marmalize me, Captain. It's just weird. That's not the point of what I'm trying to tell here. That's not the comedy. I just wanted to mention that because it's a really fucking weird moment, okay? So the joke portion of this scene happens when Lara puts on her bike helmet, seen here, dons a serious face, also seen here, stands up and says, "I'll get you next time. I'll marmalize you." And then Hannah John Kamen just laughs like she's heard the most funniest thing on the whole planet. It's not funny. What is the point of this scene? To show that she has friends? We never see this woman again. This is the first scene in the movie! It really sets a terrible tone. What's not funny? When Lara puts on her bike helmet, stands up, and says, "I'll get you next time, I'll marmalize you." That's it. That's the joke. You can marmalize me any day of the week, Lara. I mean, yeah. The scene feels really out of place. It's literally the first scene, like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and I genuinely don't understand it. And honestly, the only comedy that actually lands in this movie, it's great, but it doesn't belong in the movie. So Lara pawns off the jade necklace that her dad gave to her pretty early on in the movie to get money to pay for the boat to Yamatai. And the pawn shop owner is none other than the wonderful Nick Frost. Love him. So, let's be honest here. The only reason this scene is funny is because Nick Frost is fucking hilarious in everything that he does. There's 2 scenes with him. One where she's pawning off the necklace and one where she comes back to get it at the end of the movie. And they're both great. I don't know the actress who plays his wife in this movie, but she's also wonderful. The 2 of them bounce off of each other in a really fun, interesting way. And Lara's she's just kind of there. She's there. I don't, he carries this scene, but it's not clear why we needed him in this movie. I'm not upset about it, but, it didn't need to be funny. I don't know. Very weird. You don't need comedy in a serious movie. So, that is all of my main talking points, but I do have a couple of extra things I wanted to talk about that didn't really fit anywhere in that deep dive. So, one of the things I wanted to... Can we keep Nick out of things he doesn't have a hand in creating? Is that a thing? Are people just putting him in everything right now? So one of the great things about the game is that you get thrown right into the action. Literally, the game starts with the boat crash, it throws you headfirst into a scary situation, and suddenly you're just like Lara. You're stuck on this island, you have no idea what you're doing, but you have to fucking do it. You gotta go. The movie, on the other hand, spends 40 minutes of runtime not on the island yet. Just establishing Lara's daddy issues and injecting pointless action scenes into the narrative in case people have fallen asleep. One of which is a particularly pointless bike race that only exists to get Lara arrested? To move the story forward? It's weird. It's just a good rule of thumb. I think he plays best his own work rather than others. I mean, that's understandable. It's something he's passionate about. Did you like the movie? It's hard to tell from all the positive things you're saying about it. Loved it. Sheep, loved it. Favorite movie. But yeah, basically there's 2 action scenes early on in the movie before she even gets to the island. 1, a bike race, and 2, she gets mugged in Hong Kong and has to chase the thieves around a boat dock.
Whoops, whoopsie.
And it feels like they literally only exist because this is supposed to be an action movie and we haven't gotten to the island where all the action can happen yet. So, it's very weird. So I respect that Alicia Vikander won an Oscar, and she is very clearly trying her best in this movie, but I'm gonna be fully honest right now. She constantly sounds like she's about to lose her voice. She is always either whispering, and you can barely hear her, or she's yelling because action is happening, and when she yells, it sounds like her voice is cracking. Remember all the bike sections in Tomb Raider games? No? Yeah, it's very weird. She's great, but I just don't think she has the voice for Tomb Raider. Again, I will go back to the fact that she is Swedish. You could have gotten a British person. That might have been that bike game. Okay. So the very last thing I want to talk about is the way that Lara convinces her dad that she's real. So when she finds him on the island,
Wow.
Sorry, forgot to turn off my beeper.
Thank you, Hella, for the 24 months. That's 2 years, buddy. Also, turn off your beeper. We're talking about a movie. Rude. That's like being in a movie theater and answering your phone. God. Can we get some hype in chat for Hella, please? Basically, her dad's been on the island for 7 years, And it's gotten to the point where he regularly hallucinates Lara being there. So, to prove to him that she's real, she shows him the way he used to kiss her goodbye when she was a child. This, right here. She's very sad. The way he used to kiss her goodbye is the dumbest thing, and it doesn't make any sense. But this is what it looks like, okay? Kiss. 2 fingers on the forehead. That's it. Done. Which, I'm gonna say, is pretty fucking generic. And literally anybody could do that. So, I don't think it proves that it's Lara. And also, it's a terrible way to prove that she's real anyway, because his brain knows that that is the way he used to kiss his daughter goodbye. Exactly, Sim. And his brain is the one coming up with the hallucinations. So, like, you're telling me that in 7 years, his brain never came up with that one? Really? All she has to do is go up to him, exactly, and just fucking slap him in the face or touch him on the shoulder, because a hallucination can't fucking touch you. But that's not what she does. She does this, and he's just like, oh my god, it's you! Ah! So you said Jennifer Lawrence was in the running for this? Yeah, right? It's like the Mockingjay, whatever, thing. Hi, QE! Welcome on in. How are you? Yeah, this is the sign I believe they did in Hunger Games. Yeah. So that was all of the things. Why didn't she have her driver's license? That's a good fucking question, Hella. Plot holes. So we are on to my final thoughts on Tomb Raider 2018. My final thoughts. Here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Can we stop making video game movies, please? Can we please? I'm so tired. So like a 9 out of 10. No. 0 out of 100. Chinese fried chicken and gravy. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, I need a break. You don't understand, it will work this time. It's not gonna work. It's never gonna work. Please stop making video game movies. Please stop. But what would life be without the new Mario movie coming out? Oh god. Don't even get me started. That's gonna be wild.